Good. Well, thanks everybody for coming out. Obviously a very disappointing Saturday. Didn't get the start that we had hoped for. It's very, very challenging when you allow the ball to go over your head. We discussed that in the post game. There's not a lot of solutions for that. You have to keep the ball in front of you in the secondary, and we didn't do a good enough job of that to start the game. Thought we got back into a rhythm, obviously battled, got the game tied. Didn't really kind of come out on defense the way we wanted to after that, but then got the lead and put ourselves in position to win the game, and unfortunately couldn't do it. And so it's a disappointing night. It's a disappointing result. It's not what any of us had hoped for, obviously, but the football gods blessed us with another chance. And so this game was always going to mean something. You guys have been asking me about it since the day I got hired, and now it means everything. And so we have that opportunity to kind of right the last two wrongs in SEC play and go out with a bang and put ourselves in the SEC championship game. And so that's the focus, that's the task at hand, and obviously we're excited and ready for the challenge. And so from there, we'll kind of open it up to questions.
Up front, Brent.
When you were growing up in the Northeast, what were your first memories or recollections of this rivalry?
Yeah, probably like in those like middle school, high school years when you started seeing this game on if I'm not mistaken, it was like Thursday night for a while. Friday night, it was always its isolated time slot. And then you started watching it and you started kind of seeing the pageantry of it, and then it kind of became almost a must-watch for a while. Then you get into coaching, and at that point you lose sight of everything that goes on outside of your world. And then obviously coming back here as a defensive coordinator, you understood a little bit what it was all about without even having played the game. And then when they made the decision to join the league, you kind of always knew this day was coming. And now for the rivalry to be back, it's great to be part of.
Do you have a recollection of 2018, the first time somebody might have mentioned it to you, or the importance of it?
No, not really. I don't know that I have like a one singular moment. But obviously, you come into this state and it doesn't take you very long to figure out that these two schools mean an awful lot to people, and which one you're affiliated really matters.
Second row on the right, Christy.
Since most of the players on your team or on both teams were in elementary school the last time this game was played, do you think they grasp just how much this matters to the fan base for both teams? And if not, or if so, either way, have you said anything to the players about how much this means?
Yeah, I think both. I think, one, they do understand. I think, when you grow up in this state and you go through the ringers of recruiting and all of that stuff, I think you understand what these two schools are all about and what they mean to each other. Obviously, whenever, and we've talked about this with other games too, and this one's magnified to the hilt because alumni play a role in it too, and all of that. But I think when you talk about like proximity to school, knowing the people on each side of it, that always adds to the rivalry. And so that always kind of adds a different element. All the Texas kids that'll be playing in this game against each other. And then obviously I think we try to educate them. We educate them on what it means and what it's all about, for sure.
Second.
Yeah.
So when you say you educate them, like what's the message? What have you said, like to?
I just think making sure they understand the magnitude of what this game means to Aggies. No different than what it means to them on their side, I'm sure.
Second row on the left, Alex.
When you've talked to fans or supporters throughout the offseason, has there been anything people have asked you about more than this game?
No, not even a little bit. So, this means a lot.
Yeah, and I guess now that it's actually here, is it nice that you can stop talking about it and actually play the game?
I think just in general, and I've said this from day one, I think when you have two programs as large as these two programs are, as close to each other as they are, it doesn't make a ton of sense for them not to play. So it always felt weird not playing. And so now to be playing and to be playing for what we're playing for, I'd imagine it'll be pretty electric Saturday.
And then just what it mean to have Chase back on the offensive line, and then Reuben was listed as doubtful last week, but what's kind of his status going into this game, and then also Hill and Lee and the DBs? Yeah,
so I'll go backwards for you. Hill and Lee, like I said, those are minor deals. I anticipate those guys being ready to go on Saturday. It was great having Chase back. Obviously, he's a big presence for us inside and just gives us another. The other thing injuries, obviously, it's always next man up, and so it's good. And TJ Shanahan and Cam Dewberry are very capable players. They played really well for us, but what it does is it starts thinning your depth and your ability to rotate, right? And so as much as it's next man up, you also now have next man up, and everyone's kind of taking on more snaps. So it was just great to get Chase back out there. Obviously, he's a big part of our offensive line. And then, Reuben's running, he's moving. We'll see where it goes.
Second row on the right, Olin.
Mike, what's the most intense rivalry you've been a part of?
I think North Carolina Duke. I think that's the one that I associate most with. Obviously, Notre Dame USC was one that you kind of felt when you were there. That was certainly one that meant to people, but the proximity wasn't there, right? And so I always come back to proximity matters an awful lot. And then you go way back in the day to the I-75 rivalry, Bowling Green, Toledo. But, the magnitude of this one is obviously pretty large. And then when you put the football side of it in, it's going to be the biggest one I've been part of.
Mike, what do you think are some of the issues that y'all have had defensively that have arisen that maybe 3 weeks ago didn't seem to be an issue?
Yeah. I'd tell you we've been trying to fix things all year. I think they've shown up in different ways and maybe haven't hurt us. And the last 3 weeks they've hurt us. I think it's just it's been a lot of different things. It's been an inconsistency. It's been an inconsistency of us leveraging the football and keeping the ball in front of us on a lot of different levels, whether that's in the run game and not leveraging it right and allowing too many breakout runs, whether it's the throw game, then all of a sudden getting over top of us or hitting creases like it did against LSU and piercing us for explosive plays. We've given up way too many explosive plays for us to be good on defense, and that's been the Achilles heel of this defense and this team this year in large part. And so ultimately that all falls on me, and we've got to figure out a way to get it fixed, and quick, because this one's not going to be any easier.
Third row on the left, Luke.
2 ACC transfers on Texas, Gavin Holmes and Andrew Makuba. Can you talk about your experience facing them over the past 2 seasons and maybe what you anticipate out of them on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to get into individual comments about specific players on the other team. They got a really talented secondary. Both those guys will play a big role in it.
Go back behind the lights, far right.
Hey, Mike, with Kyle Field being one of the better environments in college football, what do you expect?
The best environment in college football.
There you go. What are you expecting it to be like on Saturday night, considering the stakes and the opponent?
The best it's ever been. No, I mean, listen, it's you get a primetime TV game against your rival in a game that is for the SEC championship. I would imagine that will break the rafters a little bit. I would imagine attendance will be really large. I know ticket poll was really large. Be a lot of excitement and a lot of electricity in the air for sure Saturday night.
Third row on the left, Tony.
Coach, obviously the ups and downs of losing a football game, then quickly finding out that this next one is even bigger than you could have imagined. You preached all year about keeping the main thing. What was the messaging to the players, and how did they respond to knowing that, hey, the game that everyone's already been waiting for is going to be the biggest of the season officially?
Yeah, I think we kind of caught wind of it a little bit in the locker room. I wasn't 100% sure post locker room against Auburn, but I kind of had an idea with how things had broken out. You have some of those tiebreakers in your mind a little bit, and so when I talked to the team after the game, we obviously talked about the disappointment and what we didn't do right. But I think quickly shifted to, I told him in the locker room, I said, I'm 90% sure this game still means everything, and then we found out quickly after that I was right on that. And so this game was going to be important to us no matter what, for it to be important on both levels, right? Important within the terms of Texas A&M and what we stand for in the rivalry part of it, but now also in terms of our individual goals of getting to Atlanta. It's what you hope for, right? You hope to get to the last game of the year playing for everything, and we're in the last game of the year playing for everything.
Back behind the lights, the middle. We'll go Donna, ladies first, then Tyler.
Coach, a game like Saturday can be super emotionally draining on players. Just how do you balance the turnaround, getting up for a game, not that they need that, but just kind of balancing, emotions throughout the week and kind of keeping it harnessed for Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's on a lot of levels that you're talking about. I think one is I think there's a very We got to be really, really intentional about how we recover. I think that's going to mean a lot, and that's an emotional and physical recovery. You know, we got back at 4 a.m. That was the highest player load we've had, obviously because of the overtime and all of that stuff. And so I think the things that we do this week to get them back, to get their mind back, their bodies back, that'll be really, really important. It's going to help that classes go away on Wednesday, Thursday, so we can kind of push back our start times a little bit and get the body cycles back, caught up sleep-wise. That'll be good for us. In terms of the emotions of it, you know, we've played in some big games this year. I think we'll lean on some of that a little bit. Obviously, this one's bigger, but, you know, we've had games where they were highly anticipated primetime matchups, and, you know, you just focus on the things that you have to do to be successful. I think that's the thing we talk about all the time is sometimes kids get wrapped up in, you know, what it's going to feel like if I make a play, what's it going to feel like if we win the game, what's it going to feel like if we don't win the game, and what we try to do is, okay, well, none of that matters if you don't focus on the things that are going to help you have success. And so try to be extremely process-driven during the week and stay locked in on the things that really matter to give ourselves the best chance to go out there and win Saturday night.
Back behind the lights, Tyler.
Yeah, Mike, what have you seen from Texas's offense, their passing game in particular, and how important is having a healthy secondary going to be?
Yeah, I mean, they're extremely talented. I think without question it'll be the best one we've seen all year. Coach Sark's always done a really good job offensively, you know, in particular with the pass game, in particular with the downfield passing game. And so, you know, they present a lot of different challenges. They do a really good job scheming up matchups and leverage, and they can attack you on every phase of it with a lot of really talented players, you know, from the tight end to the outside wide receivers to the running back to the quarterback, who's a tremendous player as well. And so it's a full field challenge. You got to cover them sideways and vertically really, really well to have success. And so that's a challenge, and we got to get ready for it.
Fourth row on the left, Brent.
A couple minutes ago, you used the phrase, what we stand for. And I understand this is not a time for reflection, but if I'm not mistaken, you were hired a year ago this week. And I wondered what the biggest thing you think you've been able to instill.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, and we always talk about this, there's always two levels in my brain, right? And so the coach in me is extremely disappointed with the recent 2 games, right? The 2 SEC games, and not getting the job done and have an opportunity and not getting it done. And so from a coaching perspective, like that stings, and that stings just like it should, and it stings like it should for the fans and the players and everybody. The CEO part of me knows what this was when I took over, and what we've done from a culture standpoint, what we've done in terms of putting this thing back on a steady track, heading back in an upward trajectory, getting this program back in a direction that we want it to go so that we can ultimately get it where we want it to be consistently. We've made a lot of strides, you know, now we got to go out there and win Saturday and put it all on display. But no matter what, that part of it has gone in a really, really strong direction.
Right side, Ben.
Coach, what's it been like to go through the season, looking ahead to this game, just seeing the way things are playing out week to week? And I know you're focused on the task at hand in a given week, but knowing it was kind of building up to potentially have the implications it does now, and what's it like to finally be able to turn your attention to the elephant in the room?
I'm laughing because it really has been for you guys. It has. It's been. Sorry, AC didn't turn the air down in here. But when you get into the season, you're so locked in week to week on what matters and what you're trying to do, and you've got this avalanche of problems that you're trying to fix every single week, and then you got the challenges that the new opponent presents, and like you get into this rhythm, and you really don't get out of it. Like, and it's not coach speak, it's the reality. You know, we know we've been chasing something, and we know that we have goals, and obviously we always felt like the goals were going to run through this game as the season started to play out. And so, you know, in the back of your mind, you knew we were going to get to this point, and you guys were going to have your press conference to ask me 400 questions about this game and all those things. But like, it really isn't anywhere in my brain until we get on the plane Saturday night, and now it's time to go get ready for this one.
Front row left, Cease.
And Mike, a couple things. What's your relationship with Sarkisian? In the past, it's been a pretty healthy rivalry. So how do you guard against, you want your team to be up, but chippiness, and you've had a couple of the games and a few penalties.
Yeah, obviously, a lot of penalties come from emotion, and how you control your emotions in games really matters. How you control them in big games matters even more, and then in a game like this, it'll be even more. And so conversations about it and making sure that we understand, again, trying to stay focused on the things that matter. We actually talked about that multiple times already this week, and we'll continue to do so. In terms of Coach Sark, it's more just having gone against him. Respect for him, what he does on offense, respect obviously for what he's put together over there and the team and the program that they're running. But it's not, I don't have a personal relationship with him.
Fourth row on the right, David.
Mike, I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but I got a question.
Okay.
Can you raise concerns about trends to SEC, about officiating? Your opponents have not been called for holding in 30 quarters. That does not include the 4 overtimes.
Yeah. Somebody did this recently in a press conference, so I'll try this. Did you see any holds Saturday night?
Plenty.
Okay.
Anything else? Follow-up?
Yeah. Follow-up. Actually, not a follow-up. Just have you been able to put your thumb on or finger on the slow starts the last 3 SEC games?
Yeah. Again, different. So need to figure it out. I think. Each one has kind of played itself out in a different way, and so you feel like, okay, LSU was one set of problems that you felt like you tried to fix and clean up, and then you go into South Carolina and they get after you with a whole nother set of problems that you then try to fix and clean up, and then the Auburn game is a completely different one. We have not just given balls up over our head at all this year for the most part, and all of a sudden, bam, now that, and so starting fast is critical. Starting fast on the road is even more critical. Starting fast in games like this is paramount. And so I don't know it's as easy as saying there's one thing that we have to do. We try to be aggressive in how we script things. We try to be different in how we script things. We've got to try to figure out a way, and there had been times early in the year where we did, right? We've started well against Florida. We started well against Missouri. We got to figure out a way.
Fourth row on the left, Rob.
Howdy, Coach.
Howdy.
So at the beginning of the year, you obviously, making it into the college football playoff was a big goal. You just didn't realize it was going to start November 30th. but do you take pride in the fact that you control your own destiny? You're 6 games away from a national championship. I know you're going to take them one at a time, but knowing that you're in control of your own destiny, what does that mean to you guys?
It means that we're in control of our own destiny. I don't know if that's a simplified answer, but again, it goes back to both sides of it, right? From a big picture standpoint, it's important that we understand it's the first time we've been in this position. We joined this league in 2012. We've never been in this position where we control our destiny to Atlanta, the last game of the year. So first time ever. So from that standpoint, obviously there's part of that is an accomplishment in and of itself, and then we got to go out, we got to finish it and get ourselves to Atlanta. In terms of the rest of that conversation, that's way beyond my brain right now. My brain is on first and second down Saturday, so I'm a little bit more locked in on that than I am beyond this game. But I do think obviously we can't lose sight of where we've come from. Now we got to go finish.
Front row right, Carter.
Mike, when you guys have let the ball go over your heads, how much of that is just busted coverage, and how much of that is just a guy getting beat, and how fixable do you think that is?
Yeah, it has to be fixable because we have a big game Saturday and we better get it fixed. So from that perspective, we've got to do everything in our power to fix it, and we've got to get it right. It's been a combination. Even if you go back Saturday, one was a one-on-one shot. One was kind of just a lost lack of leverage. One was a busted coverage, right? And so, it happened a lot of different ways, and it can't happen once, and it happened multiple times. And so it makes it really, really challenging when you're trying to play defense, when you're trying to win a football game, when you're trying to win a big football game on the road. It's not from a lack of effort, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's not getting done the way it needs to get done, and that's on me, and I've got to figure out how to get it fixed.
Then just how would you assess how much pressure you guys have been able to get up front in recent games, and then what challenges does Texas's offensive line present?
Yeah. It's been good at times and not good at times. I think, the LSU game, I thought we did a really good job getting pressure. I thought the USC game or South Carolina game, we did a really good job of getting pressure, and we missed every time we got there. And we missed 7 sacks, and so at the end of the day, it wasn't good enough. And then I thought at times the other night, we didn't get the pressure on first and second down that we necessarily thought we could or thought we needed to. And that's not always, everybody takes that as an indictment on the D-line. It's not just the D-line. Like, it starts with me and the plan and what we're doing and how we're trying to rush the quarterback. It starts with them going out and doing it. And then, sometimes it's making sure that we get the quarterback to the second and third read so that there's time to get there, and so at times it's been good, at times it hasn't been. I think when you look at the overall sack number, probably the most disappointing thing is the amount that we've missed. I think if you add up the amount of times we've had somebody wrapped on the quarterback and couldn't get him on the ground, that has to be somewhere up around 15. On the course of the season, right? And so if you just say you got half of those, what does that do to your sack total? It probably puts it where you want it to go. And so that's probably, more than anything, the most disappointing part of the season has been our inability to finish on the quarterback and get him on the ground.
Second row on the left.
Yeah, just when you look at Texas's defense, what's just made them so effective? They got high number of turnovers forced and really low yardage allowed.
Yeah, I think they got really talented players. It starts there. They got a really good scheme. Coach K's been running really good defense for a really long time, going all the way back to Boise State, and I think they do a really good job structurally. They've been together 4 years. A lot of those guys have played a lot of football, and so they're very comfortable with each other and what they're trying to do, and they do it at a really high level. And they got some really long, athletic front guys that cause some problems in terms of vision and throwing lanes and some of that, and so that's kind of, I think, led to a lot of the turnovers, and they're pretty good in the secondary. So. And
then looking at your passing offense, just what are you seeing from guys like Marcel and then the receivers that you guys have been able to continue making forward strides in that area?
Yeah, I thought Saturday was our best night. I thought the timing of it was better. We got to our spots better. We got open better. I thought we did some really positive things moving forward. Again, it's not where we want it to be. It wasn't perfect, but I thought we took some really positive strides. Obviously, Noah having a little bit of a breakout game for us was great. We've been trying to get him going and find ways to get him going, and it was awesome to see him do that. Marcel, I think, continues to get more and more comfortable going through things, and I think it's just, again, it's growth every week, and we got to get a big step this week.
Front right, Travis, and then Olin, you'll wrap us up. Okay, so this will wrap us up, Travis.
Mike, how in tune, or have you heard about how the ticket prices are going up? And as a coach, what does it mean that people are willing to fork over that kind of money to see this game?
Not really in tune to it, other than I just know they're really high. I think when I got hired, and you knew this was going to be last weekend of the year, there was an expectation that this would be a really tough ticket. As the year has gone on, and they've had the year that we've had, and we've had the year that we've had, it kind of felt like it was going to be a tougher ticket. Now that it's game day, prime time for a shot in Atlanta, I think the ticket prices probably match the demand to get in the building. And so, I expect our guys, and I know our 12th man will show up. I know they'll hold on to those tickets regardless of what anybody asks for, and that we protect them, and we fill this place with Aggies, and we make this Kyle Field the way we know it can be.
And how much has Tony Jerod-Eddie been able to be a voice to what this game has meant, having played in it?
Yeah, a little bit. Him, Jordan Peterson, you kind of lean on those guys to just talk to the players about what it meant to them. And but again, I think even though it hasn't been played, it just doesn't feel like it's ever really left the fabric, right? And so, I'm a guy who isn't from Texas, isn't familiar with Texas A&M, spent 4 years here as a defensive coordinator, and I know what this game is all about, and so I don't think it's as, even though it hasn't been played, I really don't think it's as removed from the psyche as maybe it feels. And so, yeah, I think our kids are very much aware of what this is all about.
I know Scooby was banged up there at the end. It was his status.
He's good. He came back. So he came back after that, played in overtime.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, guys.